If you've never felt grief before, I suggest you go buy some tissues, because UFC 296 might be the biggest retirement party the UFC has ever done. I'm talking about some of the most liked fighter on the roster, some of the most fan favorite fighters: Tony Ferguson, Wonderboy Thompson, Vicente Luque, Cody Garbrandt, and the GOAT, Colby Covington. And as much as I want to prepare for this, I'm kind of using this video as a therapy session for myself, because I'm not sure I'm ready to see it happen. This is not a prediction video. I might make that one later this week, like tomorrow or something. But I just needed to talk about it because it's a real potential scenario that might happen. Some of our most beloved fighters might retire on the same date, on the same night. And I feel like it's the whole team around this fight card. Fighters who were once in title contention, were once at the pinnacle of the sport. Now it's like the final shot, the last chance. I feel like that's the whole theme around this fight. I've never seen as many legends or ex-champions, ex-contenders on one main card, and they're all on the brink of retirement. I feel like the UFC knew what they were doing, putting all those fighters that we all love so much on the same night just for them to retire and give place to the new generation. So in this video, I wanted to go one by one, every fighter and why I think they might retire after this. And we'll start with the biggest fight on the card. The GOAT, Colby Covington. He's gonna be fighting the champion in what is gonna be his final shot at a UFC welterweight title. And since this fight's been announced, it never really made much sense, did it? Like, he came off of one win against Jorge Masvidal like 2 years ago, and that was not even like prime Jorge Masvidal. So it's weird for me to see him get a title shot over the likes of Belal Muhammad or Shavkat Rakhmonov or even Khamzat Chimaev if he could still make weight. But that's where we are, and Colby is one of my favorite fighters ever, so I'm not complaining. I just think it's gonna be tough for him, you know? He lost twice against Kamaru Usman, even though the second fight might have been a draw. But Leon just beat Kamaru Usman very convincingly. And if Colby is not fighting for titles or big fights against like Dustin Poirier or a grudge match against Jorge Masvidal, there's not really much for him to do. He's never been a really active fighter. He's never been the type of fighter to climb up the rankings. And he's 36 years old. If he loses this one, I'm 100% sure he's calling it quits or trying to get the Dustin Poirier fight, which he's not gonna get. That's the sad part about Colby. He's always been the eternal second. When he was about to be champion, Kamaru Usman came and took his spot because he couldn't face Tyron Woodley in time. And now he could never manage to beat Usman convincingly, even though some of his fans think he won the second fight, and I'm one of those guys that think it was a draw, but I don't think he beat Usman. But still, my point remains, he could never manage to beat Usman and was always relayed to the second place. So now you have this guy nobody thought could do a single thing, Leon Edwards, coming in and being champion. And now Colby sees this as the jackpot. He sees a guy that nobody ever had on any radar, and now he's like, I can take him. I am gonna be champion. But he might be underestimating Leon, and I'm not sure if he does, because Leon is very skilled and Colby is intelligent, so he might know this. But I'm scared for him, because Leon has shown crazy wrestling defense, even against Kamaru Usman and even against Belal Muhammad. Leon has shown to be able to match the level of his opponent. And Colby, the cardio might not be enough. He doesn't have any power and the pressure and like the physicality, the athleticism. He's 36 years old. It's not gonna be the same as when he fought Usman the first time. And he might be not in his prime anymore. Don't get me wrong, Colby definitely has got some ways to win. I'm just saying if he loses, it's not going to be for the best of the division, because he's one of the few entertaining fighters in this, and without Kamaru Usman as active champion, this division is stalling. Just look at the past year, and if he retires, because he probably is going to retire if he loses this one, he's 36 like I said, I feel like this division is going to be dead. What's going to be the next title fight? Leon Edwards versus Belal Muhammad? And after that, it's going to be the passing of the torch to Shavkat. So we might not have an entertaining division until 2026, because Leon is not the most active champ. They have nothing on Kamaru. I am mentally preparing to see Colby take off the gloves, because like I said, that's his final shot. From a guy that was about to get cut, turned into a heel and became one of the biggest names in the sport, he's come a long way, so congrats to him. But I think he's calling it quits. If he wins though, you're gonna see me celebrate like I've never celebrated before, and he might just make the welterweight division great again. But now we have to move on to the second fighter, Tony Ferguson. This one is gonna hurt. This one is gonna sting. This guy was once the interim champion on a 12-fight losing streak compared to Khabib. He was about to fight him, and then he tripped on a cord, and this fight got canceled like 5 times. And he's now on a 6-fight losing streak. He's not even ranked anymore, and he's fighting one of the biggest jokes in the division, Paddy the Baddy. And what is his final chance? Not to be a champion, not to be ranked, to be a UFC fighter, period, or an MMA fighter, period. If he loses this one, it's over. It's over for the career of Tony Ferguson. We do not want to see him go into a cage anymore, but knowing him, even if he gets cut from the UFC, we're probably going to see him against Mike Perry in BKFC. And that's the crazy part about Tony. He's never going to stop. And now he's training with David Goggins, just wear and tear on his body, like overtraining. It's not good for him. And he's one of the few fighters I was actively rooting for. Like, I was actually in my bedroom praying for the other fighters' downfall when they were fighting Tony. Now, after losing 6 straights, even Dana White said that he might have to call it quits if Tony loses this one. That's like his final shot to being a fighter, period. And I'm not ready mentally to see him retire, but I think that's going to be the best thing for him and for us as fans. But now, Wonderboy Thompson. Name one nicer fighter than him. This guy used to turn his fucking rivals into his friends, like against Tyron Woodley. Nobody could manage to hate this guy. And even today, he's still at the top of the sport. He's top 10 in welterweight. That's by no means an easy feat. And he just came off of this one win against Kevin Holland. He dominated the striking. Facts, they did not try to take down, and that's where Wonderboy's struggle is. So we can't really count that win for much, but he dominated. So now, he's fighting Shavkat Rakhmonov. That's going to be a whole different game. Shavkat is a killer from Kazakhstan with all his wins coming by way of finish. He's not going to try to play some games with, okay, we're just going to strike. We're not going to go to the ground. We're not. No, Shavkat is coming to kill, and he's going to kill. This one, I'm going to be honest, I see no path to victory for Wonderboy Thompson. He can for sure dominate the striking. He's a bit of a better striker, more technical. He's one of the best strikers the UFC has ever seen. But Shavkat can definitely hold his own in there. He's not going to just be overwhelmed by Wonderboy. And with the threat of the takedown, Wonderboy is going to be more cautious. It's not going to be like against Holland with spinning kicks and spinning stuff. Like, you saw Wonderboy against Gilbert Burns. You saw Wonderboy against Bilal Muhammad. What makes you think he can face Shavkat? This guy has wins by TKO and wins by submissions. So he's not going to be outclassed in any department of MMA. And for Wonderboy, it's kind of sad because he's talking about titles. He's talking about this and that, and he's 40 years old. So if it's not now, it's not going to be anytime soon. Wonderboy cannot afford another loss. He cannot afford another setback. Father Time is the enemy to all, and Shavkat is this most direct path to a title, and I'm sure he talked about it with the UFC. That's why he took this fight, because it's a very risky fight for him. If he beats Shavkat, title shot straight after the Bilal fight, the one against Edwards for the title. But realistically, he's in over his head. Shavkat is gonna dominate. I see a Shavkat submission in round 2, and he can catch a lucky punch or a lucky kick, headshot dead type stuff, but that's his last chance. And if I was a betting man, I would not bet on it. So you tell me what you guys think about this fight. But if it's not now, I think he's gonna retire, because I think he's fighting for titles. And if he realizes he can't fight for titles and he's not in the top dog in the division anymore, I think he's gonna call it quits. And this one, like Tony, is gonna hurt most of us, because for years Wonderboy has been a staple of the welterweight division. But we still need to move on, leave place for the new generation. And talking about new generation brings us to the next fighter, Vicente Luque. I am not gonna lie and act like I'm his biggest fan and that I'm tuning in to all of his fights. But I know that he's one of the most beloved fighters in this division. He never had beef with anyone. He's always been a solid guy, a stand-up guy. Nobody has anything negative to say about him. So to see him lose against a guy like Ian Gary, who's the new kid on the block and just making headlines, pretty negative headlines, it's gonna hurt so much. Cause if one guy deserved to be up there, it was Vicente Luque. I'm not saying he's gonna lose. It's not a prediction video. But all I'm saying is that there's a big chance he loses. And with all the wars he's been through, and I know he's only 32, but if he loses this one, I think he's calling it quits. He lost against Bilal, then he lost against Jeff Neal. And now if he loses against Ian Gary, he came back and balanced against Rafael dos Anjos, but that's not really worth anything nowadays. So if he loses against Bilal, Jeff Neal, and then Ian Gary, I think he realizes that he's not at the top of this division and he's calling it quits. This one I'm not sure though. I don't know if he's gonna keep going and be like a gatekeeper or he's gonna retire. But now the sad part, talking about gatekeeper, Cody Garbrandt. The former champ was once pound for pound #1 for one night, and he showcased and he danced and he played around Dominic Cruz. But then he faced an EPO charged TJ Dillashaw, and he was never the same after. This guy was on a fucking losing streak not too long ago. He finally bounced back with a decision, but he was on a losing streak and a knockout losing streak. Not more than last year, he was facing off with Sean O'Malley, what was about to be a big grudge match. But now Sean O'Malley is a champion, and this guy is not even ranked in any division. He's still fighting, he's still out there, but I think it's over for him if he loses this one. But you remember when I talked about like final shots and final chances that Dana White gave like for this fight card? That's his final chance. If he loses this one, he doesn't have it anymore. Actually, I was lying. I just looked and his loss streak was TJ Dillashaw twice, then Pedro Munoz, and then he bounced back against Rafael Assunção with a knockout win, but then he lost twice in a row again. So I think he's calling it quits. He was one of my favorite bantamweight ever. That shows you how steroids are dangerous for the sport. Who knows what might have happened if he didn't fight TJ while he was on steroids. He might have had a couple more title defense and retire on top of the sport, but now he's out there still fighting for scraps. So to end this video, I'm reiterating that none of those are predictions. Those are just likely scenarios that might happen in case those fighters lose. I am not saying they are gonna lose, but in case they do, I think those are gonna retire. But you guys let me know, which one is gonna hurt you the most? Like always, I'm ready and I'm up for debate. I'll welcome the debate and let me know what you guys think in the comments. Like and subscribe to support, and see you soon.